So the recent Phala Phala judgment has begun the inevitable downward spiral of Ramaphosa and is sending out shockwaves through the country and our politics. In this video, we're going to look at all the effects of this earth-shattering judgment. And if you stay with me all the way till my biblical reaction, you'll get something that you may want to share with someone in a political party, because we need this, because South Africa will prosper. You ready? Okay, press like, let's go. So Chief Justice Maya began with an apology.
I start by taking full responsibility for the delay in producing this judgment concerning an extremely difficult matter of great national importance. And I tender my sincere apology to the parties, my colleagues, and fellow South Africans for the inconvenience it has caused.
Chief Justice Maya, your apology is unreservedly accepted, and I personally withdraw all my ranting and raving in this video here. So then she went on with the judgment.
1. This court has exclusive jurisdiction to hear the application with respect to the challenge to Rule 129I. 2. It is declared that Rule 129I of the 9th edition of the Rules of the National Assembly is inconsistent with the Constitution, invalid, and it is set aside. 3. In the event the panel concludes that sufficient evidence exists as contemplated in Rule 129G, the matter must be referred to the impeachment committee established by this rule or by the National Assembly rules. 6. It is declared that the vote of the National Assembly taken on 13 December 2022, declining to refer the report to an impeachment committee, is inconsistent with the Constitution, invalid, and it is set aside. 7. The report of the independent panel is referred to the impeachment committee established in terms of the NA rules. 8. The first to fourth respondents are ordered to pay the cost of the first applicant, including cost of to counsel where applicable. I hand down the judgment.
Woo! So Chief Justice Maya swung her sword and said, your voting to bury Phala Phala was nonsense. You go back and you keep Phala Phala, and in fact, you thought you had a good thing going with the Madlanga Commission. You ain't seeing nothing yet, because now you're gonna have an ad hoc committee looking into Phala Phala. So what are the responses?
It then means now is that the ANC must reflect on this judgment. And one of the things I just do want to emphasize for the purposes of the people of our country and the viewers is that the ANC has always been at the center of advocating for support for the rule of law, support for our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And at this point in history, we're not going to back down on that. We are going to respect the judgment, we're going to study the judgment, and we are going to do amends where we need to do amends.
All right, so she says, yes, we broke the law, and it's the second time that we break the rules, and it's the second time that the Constitutional Court has had to shout at us about the same thing. But hey, remember, we the ones who fought for the rules, and we uphold the rules. But we will go back and study it, and after studying it, we'll go, oh, now we get it. They're saying we must do what's right and stop doing what's wrong. Oh, now we get it. And the second largest party after the ANC and partner in the GNU also had a response. So let's hear the federal chairperson of the Democratic Alliance.
There's a lot of political commentary that says you, as the DA, are now in the spotlight. The EFF leader, Julius Malema, just now saying that the ball is now in your court. What choices do you make now that you are in a coalition government at national level? And in his words, they'll be watching whether you choose crime and criminality on the one hand or fidelity to the Constitution when it comes down to it. If we get to that point where the question is posed in the National Assembly to impeach or not to impeach, what's your inclination as the DA?
I can talk about Julius and crime and criminality on a different day. But the DA is very much on record that we voted for the report to proceed, and it's on record. We will also then study the judgment here today. And the DA is not going to protect any criminality if there is criminality that is actually then ultimately found. And we will vote, and we'll hold people to account, as we were trying to do when we voted in the initial stage. And this is what we will then do. We'll study the judgment, and we will then make that call. And we are not going to protect any wrongdoing by any means.
Okay, so the DA has taken the right side of history. They're not pushing for anything to happen beyond the report, so they're moderate, but they're very clear we will not protect wrongdoing. They're very clear there. And the most entertaining response, the MK party.
It's interesting to see some in the commentariat describing this as Ramaphosa's Nkandla moment. I wonder if you agree.
Well, I don't know how they draw parallels on things that are not parallel at all. I mean, I don't know how Nkandla comes in here. There's no couch found in Nkandla with cash in it. So I don't know how, they want to associate a man who's very noble like President Zuma to a criminal and a constitutional delinquent like Cyril Ramaphosa.
To be fair, in the Nkandla situation, the Constitutional Court also found in that case that Parliament essentially failed to carry out their duties.
Well, this is the same Constitutional Court that arrested President Zuma without a case in any other lower court to represent himself, regarding the Zondo Commission. So I don't think we're here for Nkandla or President Zuma. We're here to discuss the criminal called Cyril Ramaphosa and the outcomes of the Constitutional Court. So I don't know why you're driving a narrative that the MC speak about President Zuma. We have a sitting president who's a delinquent, constitutionally so, who has to now answer to Parliament, and who was found with monies in his couch on his farm, and he has to answer to Parliament. And what's important is that there's two elements here. He obviously has to report, the issue must be dealt with by the impeachment committee in Parliament, which we will obviously ensure is enforced. Remember, in the sixth administration when this was brought about, Mkhonto Sizwe was not there, so they're not going to enjoy the majority vote Christmas that they had. We've now obviously reduced the ANC to what it is, a former liberation movement, and they will not be able to protect their president in the way that they did. It's going to be interesting to see also in Parliament how the DA, who has obviously been enjoying the GNU and blue lights and Parliament seats, if they will actually, vote and demonstrate morality when it comes to this president favorite of theirs called Ramaphosa. But I think also what South Africans must understand, we have a president here who is implicated in criminality. We need to open up a case, as we are discussing with our lawyers, on criminality, a crime case, and say that this man must actually be locked up, and that in actual fact, go further and say that even Phala Phala must be confiscated by the state because it's a crime scene. It's exactly where these dollars were found, and we need to also look into that as a party and including Parliament.
Sure. Ntlamula, I don't wish to take you back to this, but I just want to make sure I've got this right. Are you saying the Constitutional Court erred when it ruled against Parliament in the matter involving Jacob Zuma and the Nkandla saga, but ought to be respected in this case, where they found in a similar way against Parliament, but this time in the matter involving the president in the Phala Phala issue?
No, I'm saying to you that, when you look at the rule of law should not be avoided and should be respected. Mkhonto Sizwe, as a law-abiding political party, has always respected the law. And again, at the time when this happened, Mkhonto Sizwe was not yet born. I'm going to speak on behalf of Mkhonto Sizwe. And a legal analysis as to what happened when President Zuma was at the ANC, that's the past. But we respect the rule of law. President Zuma is a law-abiding citizen. He respects the law and will follow the law to the letter. But what's important here is that we need to focus on what the issue at hand. The fact that your institution, the SABC, is headed by a criminal, and therefore this criminal...
What do you mean by that?
President Ramaphosa must do the right thing. This dishonorable man must do the honorable thing and resign.
All right. And just to be clear, I'm not sure what you mean by the fact that the president runs the SABC. Last I checked, there's independent editorial decision.
Well, indeed, yes, the SABC is a board is appointed by the president, and there's nothing wrong. We don't have to be ashamed of that.
No, it's not about being ashamed. It's about what the facts state. But let's not digress. We do know now that the Constitutional Court has essentially asked that this rule, which is really at the heart of the litigation...
We cannot delay justice any further. South Africans want the president held accountable and with Parliament, and we need to ensure that we hold the Parliament and the president and the cabinet accountable, specifically the president himself. So we would like to see the impeachment committee set up as soon as possible via the Speaker's office, and we will be pressing for that as Mkhonto Wesizwe Party.
There we go. They want the criminal to resign immediately and for the state to take Phala Phala because Phala Phala is a crime scene. So let's hear from the people who brought this application.
Well, we've constituted impeachment processes before, and then allocations to the impeachment committee will be determined by the numbers the party have. We've got an ad hoc committee now, and we're able to proceed with numbers of different parties that are represented in Parliament. That's how we are going to do it. It's just that the impeachment process is got investigative powers. The president has got to come, has got to sit there. He can't send any minister. And then, amongst other things, we're going to demand that the impeachment committee must go to Nkandla. We want to see where those people opened the hole, Phala Phala, or how they opened the hole, how did they sneak in and steal the money, how did the money come in. All of that nonsense that was said by Reserve Bank, by SARS, by Public Protector, all of that nonsense is going to be exposed, that they were using those institutions to protect an individual and not the constitution of our country.
Mr. Malema, there's a saying, it's cold outside the ANC. Today it looks like it's hot inside the EFF. You've won in court, in the Constitutional Court. How do you feel? How's the weather in EFF after this positive judgment?
Well, we've always made it warm outside the ANC. The EFF, it can be an irritation to all of you. But imagine where this country would have been without the EFF. It's not for the first time that the EFF comes here to rescue this country from the corrupt, from the people who abuse their power and abuse the office they occupy. You must be proud to have the EFF, and everybody must say, this is a party I want to associate with, because this party, it might have a rhetoric of the left, but it respects the Constitution, it uses the Constitution to the best of its ability, it stretches the law to make sure that South Africans are protected from those who have power and want to abuse that power for their own individual benefit. How do you tell your bodyguard to go and investigate crime that is committed in your farm? That is abuse of power. You must go to police station. All of us, there's nothing special about Cyril Ramaphosa. When there is a crime committed in my house, I can't send my helper. That bodyguard is a helper. He's not charged with the responsibility of investigating crimes in Vila Vila. There is a police station there. But because he thinks he's above the Constitution, the police station is too small for him. He's too big, and therefore he sends his bodyguards. All of that, all those bodyguards, all those helpers who were at the house, they will be there in Parliament to give their side of the story without being intimidated by police, without being intimidated by anyone.
Yep, when he's not doing his divisive, hateful leftist rhetoric, we are indebted to Mr. Malema. But he didn't go in alone on this application. He was also supported by ATM.
Definitely feeling vindicated. However, we do want to say this victory belongs to the people of South Africa, because it is the people that need to be protected from Parliament taking wrong decisions. Parliament taking unlawful decisions and the people that are occupying the most powerful office not being held accountable. This is not just a case of EFF and ATM versus Mr. Ramaphosa, but it is about our democratic order in our country whereby rule of law is supreme and each and everyone, especially the ones that are in power, are held accountable.
So there we go. They've won. So I'm going to give you my biblical reaction and then give you all the scenarios of what the fallout will look like. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. In case somebody doesn't hear me, geen mens sit lig aan en gaan steek dit dan onder 'n bed weg nie. Nee, 'n lig word in die middel van 'n vertrek neergesit, sodat almal kan sien wat om julle aangaan. Dit is presies wat julle ook moet doen. Moenie iewers in die donker gaan verkruip nie. In case somebody doesn't hear me, nomuntu kasokheli isibane asibeke phansi kwesitsha kodwa usifaka othini khona siyabakhanyisela bonke abasendlini. Let me give you my thoughts. For the citizens of the Republic, this is wonderful. Now, for the ANC, this is what's going to happen. The radical leftists in the ANC, sort of the RET guys who are sort of sympathetic with the leaving SACP, sort of sympathetic with getting along with the EFF, are gonna love this. They are gonna love watching Ramaphosa getting dragged over the coals for a long time, because they want him gone anyway, because he represents the more moderate part of the ANC that would rather go with the DA and play that game over there. Now, the next thing that happens as well is Ramaphosa is in his last term, so anyone who's looking towards 2029 is looking to see the right time to pounce as he gets weakened, as he gets dragged over the coals, being on a stand, being asked about a very embarrassing thing. So if he doesn't resign, he loses. If he resigns, he loses. This is a catch-22 for him. Now, the DA is in the GNU. I think their statement is solid. It's moderate, but clear on we will not protect anyone. So clearly the DA will wait for the process to then force them into a decision. But from the federal chairperson, they already locked in. They will not protect anyone. For the EFF, this is great because listen, I don't like the EFF's plan. I think it's horrible. I don't like the EFF's economic plan. I don't like the EFF's position. EFF always stands with the perpetrator of a crime as opposed to the victim. The EFF always stands for the empowerment of politicians over the citizens. The EFF stands for everything I cannot stand for, because you cannot serve God and Karl Marx and Lenin, who hates people like me. However, when it comes to defending the Constitution, we now in the Constitutional Court have EFF 1, EFF 2, Nkandla and this one, and each time that the EFF takes action in Constitutional Court, it is for the benefit of all South Africans. And I think the EFF has got 1 or 2 ticks. The ATM has fought over this and they get a couple of ticks too. And Action SA did sort of keep Phala Phala alive and they get a little bit of a tick, but not enough because they didn't run the application. They weren't in the front. And this is my thought that links to my biblical reaction. Everyone who is involved with putting pressure over this Phala Phala thing is actually just the ANC falling apart. You have the EFF, you have the MK, ANC private battle between Ramaphosa and Zuma. You have the ATM. On all matters, might as well just join the ANC, EFF, and all of them. And outside of Action SA, everything going on about this is really the broken up pieces of the ANC going against each other. All the redistributive justice bunch involved. Where are the prosperity bunch? Where's anyone who fights for property rights? Where's anyone who fights for family? Where's anyone who fights for free enterprise? Where's anyone who fights for values? Nowhere to be seen on this matter or any other important matter. And I know I speak for a couple of people right now who are watching this, who are saying, you know, party X, party Y, party this, party that. Every time they open their mouth to talk, I agree with them, but they never act. They are like that person who lights a lamp and keeps it under the table. Now, here's what's going on. South Africa is going through a time when the ANC is collapsing, dividing in all sorts of direction. SACP is gone. EFF section is gone. MK section is gone. ATM section is gone. Even Action SA used to be in the ANC before Action SA. And it seems ideologically he's on the side of prosperity. But seems when the man gets emotional, he misses home and starts talking ANC language. Now, where are the ACDP, the Freedom Front Plus? Now someone says, oh yeah, but the DA, but wait, the DA went from 1% to hit about 30% in the polls. It's easy to criticize them, but here's the thing. The DA doesn't just talk, they act. They put in court applications. They put forward motions that force people to say yes or no. They make enough of a noise that they went from 1% to 30%. There's so many other parties that many people agree with if they are not coming out of the ANC. No motion, nice speeches, no forced decisions, just values. And in the process, they still at 1% and 1.5% and that kind of thing. Then we have the PA, which seems to be on the side of prosperity as far as ideology is concerned. However, I don't know if the PA has anything outside of power games. I'm not sure if I can fully expect them to stand on a certain point at a certain time. Now, there's so many parties who are playing that 1%, 2%, 3%. And here's the reason. Because there are lamps lit and sitting under the bed. Because they really are convinced that their words matter. Words don't matter. Action does. The checkmate motions that force things to happen. That's action. Courage. Doing something. And I'm not knocking them. These are parties I like because you already know I want South Africa to prosper. But many of the parties on the side of prosperity are nowhere to be seen when such matters take place. And we have just got the one lane, which is the ANC falling apart and fighting itself. It may come by different names, you know, tripartite and all of that, but it's the ANC fighting itself. And I don't mind them not being involved on Phala Phala if I would be seeing them taking real action, not words that we agree with, which we do, but real action on some lane that's going to shift them up, because we need at least 10% more on the side of prosperity for South Africa to prosper, and leave the accusers, blamers, complainers, deceivers, excuse makers to have less power, 49%, and at least 51% that says we're done with the accusing, blaming, and excuses. We're going for prosperity. The kind of people who have a vision and say, here's a picture of Sandton. In 20 years, every rural town will look like this. Now that's what South Africa needs. And unfortunately, the people who are on the side of vision over grievance are lamps under the table. They're lamps under a dish, lamps under a bed, talking. And when they talk, we love it. But guess what we hate? We hate having to be protected by Malema all the time. We hate having to be protected by internal ANC politics, like MK going after Ramaphosa because Zuma and Ramaphosa are enemies. And now that's the only protection we have, because a lot of these parties, they're nowhere. They're busy perfecting their speeches. So we heard there's a party that's coming up with Prince Mashele. Well, let's see if they can come in and get that other 10% from the nation. Here's the thing. Voters are not looking for a whole bunch of stuff. They're just looking for people who have enough courage to act. People who don't just say nice words, but who put them to a vote. The kind of parties who put forward a motion knowing that we probably won't win, but even when we lose, we win. And hey, if we won, we win. You gotta start playing chess, people. South Africa will prosper. And this is what I'm gonna say. With or without you. So could it please be with you? No man can serve two masters. Either you'll love the one or hate the other, or you'll despise the one and honor the other. You cannot serve God and Karl Marx. So let's make history together. Parties that stand for prosperity, family, faith, freedom, flag. Stop talking. We really like what you say. But it hurts us that we have to rely on ANC internal battles to protect us every now and then when wrong is being done. So let's make history together. Cheers. Let me hear your thoughts below. Boy, am I in trouble today. Ooh, I think I'm in trouble.